is the Page Publishing Book Club. How you doing? We're closing in on the big ho ho ho. So thank you so much for joining us. I know, oh boy do I know how busy you must be. So we begin tonight with Aya Syed, a mom in Fort Worth, Texas, and a volunteer and advocate for the Down Syndrome Guild of Dallas. She enjoys writing with her kids, ages 11, 9, and 4, and for kids of all ages, she's published her first book entitled Sabile and Her Superheroes.
Well, Sabile and Her Superheroes is about my daughter, who is 4.5. Her name is Sabile. She has Down syndrome. And it goes through each day of the week where Sabile, she goes out on her little adventures, and each day she finds a normal person with their superheroes. And then on the last day, she finds out that her superpower is her just being herself. It's not just for children with disabilities, even though it is an inclusive book, but it's for all kids if you think about it. Just that at the end of the day, if you just be yourself, that's your superpower. And that's what's going to make you great in the world, is to honestly just be yourself. It came about when I realized that there wasn't a lot of books that had a child with a disability as the main character. And I do a lot of advocacy work with the Down Syndrome Societies here in North Texas. And I wanted something that can give them the push to want to see themselves. And luckily in the United States, we do have actors and actresses and writers now with disabilities, but it's slowly getting there. So it's now out there, but it's not as much as you would want to see. And so I do see that, and I do see that we did need as well a book for any child, any adult, that it helps. I mean, there's a lot of bullying that's there, and children, they try to change their ways and how they look and how they act just to try to fit in. And they realize that at the end of the day, I mean, they can try to do that, but if they're not their true selves, they're not going to be happy. So I hope that this book does help them out with that.
Who are some of her superheroes?
Her teacher, because we all know teachers, first and foremost, are superheroes. Her brothers, a police officer, her doctor, and, of course, my husband and I, her parents.
The best superheroes, the biggest superheroes.
Yeah.
Now, you said you're doing work with Down syndrome organizations. Are they embracing your book?
They are. I have done several story times as well as book signings here, and some of the proceeds from the book actually gets donated to the Down Syndrome Guild of Dallas, our local organization that I volunteer for and advocate for.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and of course, another organization called MUHSIN, which is Muslims Understanding Special Help and Educational Needs. And they are trying to as well change the ideas of children with disabilities, not just in the United States, but internationally.
Excellent.
So they're really, really behind me on that, which is great.
It is great. You've really found a purpose here.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't like to say I sound great, but I try to do one thing, even if it's the smallest thing in the world. I mean, that pebble, when you throw it into the lake, it doesn't do a ripple effect. And so I'm hoping my ripple effect, goes to my kids, my boys especially, and my daughter. I mean, she's 4.5, she has Down syndrome, but that shouldn't stop her from, who knows.
That's right. Who knows? You never know. Great work, Aya. Ken Rutledge was a builder in Texas before he became an author in a most unconventional way and wound up writing his first book entitled More Than a Lifetime.
Well, I decided, yes. I had my wife came home one day and told me that she no longer wanted to be married. And I thought, wow, that's going to throw a monkey wrench into things. And so I started to think about what I could do to kill some of my time. And I started writing a therapeutic book, and it turned into a novel. So I changed it up, of course, a lot once I got into it. I decided to do a story. So I decided to write about the next thing I knew a little bit about, and that was politics. And More Than a Lifetime is a story of a group of patriots that are banded together to cure the ills of the government that has gone astray, a government that is aligned with many different agencies and conflicts for money, greed, power, much the same as we have today. I was in the service, and when I was in school, I started getting a great interest in World War II, Korean War, and then Vietnam. And I started looking at it as not just a historical event, but also as a political event. And I found out that war was a lot more, as much political as it was justified by liberating different countries or different ideologies. Jim Huntington is the main character, and Jim Huntington and his brother grew up in a little town in Michigan, and they went to the University of Michigan and played football. And then after that, Jim went into the Navy, and his brother went to work for the CIA. When Jim got out of the Navy, he also went to work for the CIA. Bobby, who was Jim's brother, was killed because of he found out that our government was in collusion with another government to manufacture chemical weapons, and he was executed. And Jim was a local sheriff. He had resigned from the CIA because he got married, and his new wife was not very happy about the dangers and that he faced. So he went and became a sheriff. Well, this group of people also killed Jim's parents, Jim and Bobby's parents, and then they came and killed Jim's family, his wife and 2 children. And so that's how the book kind of starts. It starts actually out like that on page 1, and then it goes and takes you through the story of how they fell in love with the town and the people and and work there, and takes them through college, and then this horrific night when all the family was killed. There's constant flashbacks to that, and then constant flashbacks to his parents, and constant flashbacks to Bobby, and it takes them onto this quest of 13 men that go around righting wrongs for the CIA. So although the book's a fiction, there's a lot of reality, and there's a lot of fact in it. I do a lot of research. Probably researched a book for about a year before I start writing it.
I was going to say, I mean, it sounds like you have some inside information there into the goings-on
of their boyhood when they went to a town in Maine, and it was called Vanguard. I've been accused of working for the CIA.
Because your information's that good.
It is very good. It's very factual.
What's the takeaway for the reader?
It's to enlighten them that they have a voice, they have a country, and without that voice and without that country and without that love of country, bad things happen to good people.
You got that right, Ken, and I am looking forward to the next book in this series. I'll be talking to you soon. Everett Gregg was a sign painter for 42 years in Nevada, and at 82 years old, he writes all the time, but no one was more surprised than he was to find out he's a poet. The name of his book, Life's Journey with Me Through Poetry.
I'd never given any thought to any kind of poetry. I'd never read a poem. And then in November, it'll be 4 years, I met a lady. She's 75. And a month after we met, we were getting along fine. She said that it wasn't anything I'd done, but she may move to Southern California to be with her kids. I wrote her a 2-page poem asking her not to leave. She didn't leave. She brought me notebooks and told me to get to work. And now I've written over 300 poems.
That's so
sweet. So she's my muse. And she designed the cover and found you guys, and now I'm a poet.
Jeez.
So it's been a fun ride. I'm sure I'll order at least another 100 and possibly 200 books.
Are you getting rid of them that quickly?
I'm selling 2 to 4 a day. I've had a couple of 10-book days in bookstores. About 20 miles from where I live, there's a little gold rush town from the 1800s called Virginia City. And as long as the weather's decent, I go up there, and there's a really nice restaurant that lets me sit outside and sell my books on a picnic table with a nice cover that I put out. And I've been a little bit of a cowboy, and I've done a lot of things. I wear Western wear constantly. And so sitting up there, there's new tourists every weekend, and that's where I'm selling my book, sitting there at a table and have them displayed and tell that same story I just told you. And so they're selling. I'm not getting rich, but it's doubling my income. So I live on Social Security.
That's amazing. Are people picking it up and looking at the poems? I mean, the poems must be pretty good.
I'm getting an awful lot of nice comments. Like I say, I'm over 80 years old, and most of it is things from my memory, and I put them in rhyme. And one family here in town, they bought 8 books, and they've sent them to all their relatives. So
Well, what are the poems about?
everything from outhouses, about the history of telephones, my philosophy of life, and it seems that a lot of older people think like I do. We wonder where the hell this country's going. And I just write what I think, and I'm real lucky. It comes out in rhyme real easy. I have no idea where it comes from, but it's not a chore. If I'm not writing poetry, I feel guilty. It's a whole new world for me.
Do you have a poem you could share with us that's, relatively short?
80 and moving on. Here I am again going on 81 and still on the right side of the grass. This all seems impossible to me. 80 years have passed. Doesn't seem like it's been all that long. And in all the time, I've done a few things right and a lot more things wrong. Like so many of us say, if I could do it over again, I just might do it in a little different way. But all in all, it has been a fun ride. And at this time, I'm trying to put my life story together. And with this endeavor, my biggest hope is that before I'm gone, this book gets done. So that's kind of where I come from.
That's pretty good, Everett. Thank you. Rebecca Keskes is driving through Ann Arbor, Michigan with her 4-year-old grandson and talking to us about her first book. It's entitled My Adventure and What Did I See? So she's always written short stories, poems, wedding cards, birthday cards, and one day she started singing a song about her grandson, and her whole family told her she had to turn it into a book. So
I sing it more than I read it. I don't even know how to read it because I always start singing it,
So sing
And
some
it's
for
catchy.
me.
I woke up in the morning and what did I see? My nanny came over to babysit me. She wants to play with me. She wants to play with me. My nanny came over to play with me. We walked to the park and what did I see? A little teeny squirrel was looking at me. He wants to play with me. Then it goes on, the bunny hops and the bird in the tree sings and the airplane flies and the car goes zoom, zoom by him, and just his story. He was 18 months old and he's in the back seat asking me questions. Why am I singing you this song? Because now he's 4.
That is so cute.
Thank you. I got to read it at a baby shower. And after the fact, I got to hand out a whole bunch of books to all the pregnant women that were at the shower. I always have the kids walking around singing the song. So it's catchy. It's a catchy tune.
Wait a second. You gave it to all the pregnant ladies? Why didn't you make them buy it?
My girlfriend did buy it. She bought 5 copies for all the pregnant women at her daughter's baby shower. And when I was done, I made 4 more sales. I love it. They get more of a kick out of it when I sing it. Happy, positive, and so much fun with it. If this takes off and it pays for itself a little bit, then I'm going to put the other 2 into publication.
Good. So where do you go from here? Do you just do the baby shower circuit or, library?
And the nursery school circuit, because that's huge. I mean, that's it, because it's that kind. So I've read to 2 schools and a baby shower so far.
All right.
That's what I've done. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. You're on your way, sister.
I hope I am. Everybody says I am. So, I mean, everybody likes it that has read it. Everybody has been great about reviewing it for me, which I know that is such a big deal. And it's got a lot of good stars on it. So I can't be mad about it,
Nah, you can't be mad, Rebecca. It's all good. We have a couple of more children's authors coming up right after this.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you: printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-204-6099 for your free author submission kit.
We're back on the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm Ellis Stockton Rossini. Krista Janelle had to take a few minutes away from her second grade class near Youngstown, Ohio to talk to us about how her students inspired her to write her first book. It's entitled Mistakes.
I've seen a lot of children over the years make mistakes, and then they stop trying out of fear to make mistakes. So my inspiration for the book was from their making mistakes to try to teach them that it's okay. We all make mistakes, to let us keep going and trying because we can only get better. The story is about a puppy named Gadget who is afraid of making mistakes. He's trying not to make mistakes, hiding, and a cat, Clyde, comes along and helps him and teaches him that it's okay to make mistakes. Tells him about his mistakes when he was a younger kitten, and then helps guide him through his journey on becoming a better dog.
Nice. Did you read it to your kids?
I did. They loved it. And actually, my school let me do a pre-sale here at school. And then I was able to share the book with all of the students in the building.
Oh, you're very lucky.
I go to the local libraries. This past summer, I've gone to some reading camps to share the book. And I'm just really trying to reach out and share it with everybody I can that I know. Just reaching out to local people first and getting their support helps because they can help spread the word and share the book.
Are you going to keep writing?
I am. I'm actually working on the second part of that book, book 2.
How funny is that? You never wrote before, and now all of a sudden you think
I know. I think I was always, as in the book, afraid of making mistakes and failing. So I think my students helped me to gain the confidence I needed. And they were always telling me, Mrs. Figley, you should really write the book. We want you to write the book. So I finally did.
Well, how about that? Good thing they did. Thanks, Krista. Monique Montiel Suarez has to make the donuts. No, really, she's a baker in Oregon. As a child, she had dyslexia, but a second grade teacher inspired her to keep writing until one day she finished her first children's book. It's entitled Kissing Worms.
It's actually something that my younger daughter used to do when she was probably about 3 or 4, and she loves fishing, and she was my inspiration for this story. About a little girl named Z. She loves to do everything that little girls love to do. She plays dress up and goes and rides her bike and cooks and does all those kind of things. But her most passionate hobby is fishing. And she has a worm garden, which my daughter Zamira actually used to have. And she collects her worms from her worm garden. And every time her and her dad would get ready to go fishing, she'd get her worms. And when they get out to the fishing hole, she give the worms a kiss for luck. And she is a great fisherman, and she catches a lot, so it must work. She out-catched her dad, that's for sure.
How old is she now?
She's 14. She's actually the illustrator of Kissing Worms.
Okay, so how did this all come together now? How old are your kids?
So my oldest is 16. Then I have Zamira, who's the illustrator, and she's 14. Caden is 9, and Tavian is 5. So I like to write little stories about them and, try to inspire them to read and write. And, it's kind of fun to have mom have a book so they can read.
How are you telling people about it?
I've actually had the pleasure of going to a few schools and classes around here, the elementary schools, and reading it to the kids and kind of getting their feedback about it. I always ask them the question, what would you like, to see happen next? And I've had kids, I want kissing rabbits and kissing other kinds of animals, or they want to know what happens to the fish after you catch it. So it's been really cute and great ideas. It has a great meaning, and I hope people like it.
What's the great meaning?
If you have the passion for something, for a hobby or anything, you give it a little love and a little patience, and big things will come your way.
Well, it's also a great family project that you embarked on with your little girl, right?
It is. It's really great, and I hope to have a book for each of my kids, and I hope she illustrates every one of them.
Me too, Monique. You go for it. Damaso Aviles is a high school Spanish teacher in Georgia, inspired by the beauty of his homeland, Puerto Rico, to take a year off to finish his book entitled The Yanari Island Persimides Arrival.
In Puerto Rico, we have rivers and waterfalls everywhere, but one day I was watching a waterfall, and I saw that it doesn't exist a waterfall that runs around like a circle anywhere on the planet. So that inspires me to create one.
A waterfall that goes all the way around the planet.
Yeah, so it's an island that has that kind of waterfall. A waterfall is like a circle. It's something that doesn't exist in nature.
Okay.
So the complete island is surrounded by the waterfalls. It's an island that, the General Island is an island that produces the water of the entire planet. But once the water flow was obstructed with an enormous rock by two demigods that didn't like humans, but in their anger, they cursed the rock in an incorrect way, so no human nor God can lift it. But they didn't thought that a demigod could do it. So Terronius, this peasant boy, the main character, one day lift the rock, and the entire world recovers the water. Then everything was almost normal again until some demigods from other parts of the world wanted to conquer the General Island in order to dominate the water. So most of the trilogies relate is about how they are going to try to conquer the island.
So this boy, your main character, basically saved the island.
Yeah, he saved the island and saved the world because when he was 7, he noticed that he was very strong, and he didn't know that he was a demigod. That's the point of the first part. He didn't know about that. He just knows that he's strong, but he doesn't know why. So he moved it, and the entire planet recovers the water because the waters of the entire planet begins in the General Island.
And then no sooner does he remove it, and somebody comes in and they want to take it back.
Yes.
And this is a story of trying to preserve this water, and it goes through 3 books?
Yes, this is the first. 3 messages, one about the anger management, the conservation of the water, since it's one of the most important things humans have, and also the inclusion, since during the novel the society don't want them because don't classify them as normal persons. So I'm making these 3 messages, very important messages, nature and defending that we are one race in the world, the human race, and also that the anger management is a problem that exists, but sometimes people don't accept that exists.
Yeah, they say they're not angry when they are.
Yes. And to manage that is very important to look for professional help. That's one thing that happens a lot with the main character. He can't control his anger. And it's something that I try to help them every day, every year, watching the same here. Now in the United States, I'm free here for 3 years.
So it's something that you're trying to teach them how to handle.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Are you doing book signings?
I'm going to do my second book signing next week here in Georgia. Barnes & Noble, Moro, Georgia.
Good work, Damaso. And by the way, his book is available in English and Spanish. Finally, Jordan Zlatalo is a special ed teacher in Culver City, California. He used to document family trips on a tape recorder. By 3rd grade, he was writing short stories. By college, he was working on a novel. 20 years later, he got it published, and now it's a trilogy, beginning with Dragon Blade and now Dragon Flute.
Well, it's cool because it's actually about me. It's me working in my dad's medical office and just thinking, man, I really don't like working in an office. So I basically put myself into a character. I made him a computer programmer who basically has a midlife crisis one day while he's sitting in his office, and he's like, where is my life going? Where's my adventure? Where's my romance? And then as it turns out, he actually is a hero who has hypnotized himself to be sort of a mundane guy for a while. But his coworker, who has a crush on him, invites him to a party. Next thing you know, they go out to eat. They kind of get involved. And now he wants to go camping. And she's like, camping? I barely know you, but I guess we've been working together for 6 months. So they go camping, and this elf dude appears and like, come on, we have to go. We're in danger. So she gets sucked into the world. He has to go back. He's a legendary hero, and his old world needs him again. That's the first book. Dragon Blade, which becomes like a talisman, against evil. And then the second book, Dragon Flute, is 15 years later. They're now married. They have a 15-year-old son. And it becomes sort of a young adult novel where he sort of starts taking over as the leader. Sort of a family adventure, mom, dad, and son. They all go together searching for the Dragon Flute, which is a mystical, it's all about dragon talismans. And this talisman is needed to defeat a demon, a trickster demon. And then I'm actually about 300 pages into the third book right now. Action-packed, a lot of cool characters. I added a lot more female characters because my girlfriend asked me to do that. So, I tried to do everything that I didn't do in the first book. So there's a boat voyage and a lot of cool stuff. And also one of my favorite authors, Piers Anthony. He's also like a pen pal of mine, and he's read and reviewed both of my books too, which is pretty cool.
And?
The first one, he kind of got me, he gave me the motivation. He said I had a story, but it was spoiled by errors like most writers, so he kind of encouraged me to do some more editing and fix it up, and then I sent it to him, and he actually endorsed it. I mean, on the book, it's, this is a high fantasy adventure, people should like if you like fantasy adventure. So his endorsements are on both of my books. When I talk to students, they love it. They can just whip it out and search me because I'm legitimate. And I also wanted to say, God bless and keep the people of New York. I just wanted to throw that in there. I really love New York. Been there a bunch of times.
Aw, New York loves you too, Jordan. New York loves every single author on our show. And that's a wrap for this edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. Thank you, authors. Thank you, listeners. And if you missed anything, all you have to do is go to 710WOR.com and download the podcast. They're all there. Enjoy your holiday. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini.